Hey Buddyfighter, so I've been dead, but as promised I'm back, and of course, Obstruct is gone! Bushi updated the irregular list, and here it is. So, if you guys want to check it out, Global Clouds did a quick explanation summary. I don't really want to make a video because I'm pretty sure other people are going to or have already talked about it. So you can take a look at that. Take a look on Spoiler 2 if you want to see actual stuff. So yeah, Obstruct is banned, but the regular list is not in effect in English yet. So anyways, the main thing we're going to be looking at is this Omni Lord deck profile right here. So obviously the main course or the main playstyle of the Omni Lord deck is having the Roy Missouri out, the one in the very top left, and basically being able to call Omnis from drop at counter speed, and basically combining lots of different monsters that have the Omni Lord keyword. And this keyword basically allows you to play this card in any deck as long as it's at one copy, but if it's in the same flag, like Missouri, because it's in Dungeon World, and we're playing Dungeon World, of course, then you can play more than one. And yeah, it's a really fun deck. It's also kind of like a homage to all the different Buddyfight characters, especially for 100. So let's get straight into the deck profile, and hopefully you guys will enjoy. Okay, so let's talk about the flag. Ozone B, because reasons we gotta mess with our opponent, get more characters out there. We got Roy Missouri as our buddy because you're always bringing out this card, especially for the counter call. Plus, he's really cheap as a single as well, so we're playing him as our buddy. And of course, we got the triple Punisher life counter. I just like how it goes along with the collection in the sleeve, and these are the Japanese ones with the multi-world. So let's talk about monster ratio. So we've got 2 Joker and 3 El Quixote. Now, the reason I went with these ratios is Joker's really great because obviously you drop Omni Lord Gauge, and there's a lot of cards that are getting you more Omnis into hand, which we'll talk about later. But also he gets +3 power and crit +1 going to 6-2, which is really nice as well, especially to hit and just get extra attacks out there. And also El Quixote allows you to check top 3 and put more cards into drop, especially because you already need 3 cards in drop in order to call this Roy Missouri. So yeah, he just helps you set up and also gets you stuff, and also on the link attack gets you 2 gauge. My only problem is that he's really easy removable, so I was thinking doing 3 Joker, 2 El Quixote. Honestly, I'd say test for yourself, mix it up, see what works well for you, what works well for your deck. But this is what's working well for me, so I'm going with this for now. So 3 El Quixote, 2 Jokers. Of course, we've got 4 of the main Missouri, or the new one, Roy Missouri, if I can say the name. Cold Flow Ice Dragon Roy Missouri. So of course, it's got 10-3-7, great stats. But that 3 soul is really helpful. Lifelink 2 reduced from 5 to 2 now from the old Missouri is really, really helpful. And of course the card is just really great, double attack, and of course the counter call is just incredible. So 4 copies because you always want to get it in hand, and even if you have extras you can discard it off with other effects. Okay, so we've got 2 Karuna Cycle Missouri, the older one. This one I don't like as much. I might bring it down or replace it with something else in the future. But it's just great because it's a Missouri and the call cost is really free, and you can also grab Demon Lord armors from Soul into with the call cost. So it's 625 and basically allows you to stand it at the beginning of final phase if you have 4 Omnis and drop, and then 8 you get to attack and swing again because it gets double attack. So essentially you can get 3 attacks, and you know, it's a Missouri, so we're playing it at 2. You might want to change it up, maybe you don't like how it plays, but 2 I think is a pretty safe amount for now. So we've got 2 Ice Dragon of Rebirth Roy Missouri. This is kind of the meme card in your deck. Again, we're going just pure Omnis. We're not doing any Demon Lord mixes or anything like that. But it is really good card because, of course, you got the 22 and Lifelink 2 and the ability of act once per turn. You may basically, return 3 Omnis and stand it. Of course, it does have the Lifelink 5, and with only 1 soul, easily cards that pop it or rest it are going to be annoying. Obviously, the rest isn't too big of a deal, but that Lifelink 5 is also pretty hefty. So the card that Spell Running Amok, which we'll talk about later, allows you to pop, let's say like this, Missouri on your field, and then once it's popped, you can just get rid of it, send all the cards in Soul to drop, maybe it's more Omnis, and then call this card out during your attack phase, and then swing like crazy to finish off your opponent, and pray they don't have Buddy block. So yeah, we're playing it at 2 because it's a good amount. You really don't need more. You can take it down to 1 or try different ratios, but 2 works fine in the deck. Okay, so we got the 2 Mukuros right here. The first one is, how do I say this? Unwavering Shadow Lord Mukuro. It's just the golden text, man. But I love the golden stamp on this. This is from, what's it called? Solar Strife? And it's 625, size 2. So it basically allows you beginning of each attack phase to call Omni or Dark Hero from your hand at size 0. So essentially you're getting 2 calls per turn with the other Roy Missouri if you combine it with this. This card I don't like as much because it doesn't have built-in immunity like this. And still neither of the Mukuros allow you to attack through center, which I still find that it's like one of my pet peeves from Bushi Road. But yeah, that's kind of a thing, so he's kind of really just there to give you extra calls, but again, that double type penetrating and 5k defense is something, but defense is pretty irrelevant now, especially in the ace meta. Okay, so we've got Shadow Lord, Conviction, Mukuro Beast, so 626. It also has the built-in immunity of this card in the field cannot be destroyed or returned to hand by your opponent's effects. And counteract, you can choose a card in your field, and discard an Omni Lord or a Dark Hero and just pop it. So that is really great. Again, none of them have the attack through center ability, but cards like the Countdown, which we'll talk about later, can basically come back to your hand, so you can reuse this effect, and having the counter pop is really good. So they're both solid cards, they work well with Omnis, so we're playing both of them. Okay, now on to Xian. This card I wasn't too sure about. This is the older Xian. This is, how do you even say that? Tumultuous Omnilord Xian. So it's got 4 crit, 6,000 power, not the greatest, 1 gauge, 1 life to call, which is honestly pretty cheap. But during the battle, this card attacking low, your opponent cannot counter, so no nullifies, no reduce. But again, they still have end of battles and different timings to get around it. And also rest cards, of course. And pay 1 gauge. For this turn, this card gets power plus 2,000 and penetrate, which is your act. It's not a counteract, so if you do want to counter call this during battle phase, you cannot then give it that penetrate, because obviously it's not a counteract. You can't. Acts have to be used during your main phase. So essentially that was the reason why I didn't like this card, but still 4 crit string is really nice. And of course you have the new Xian, which basically can go up to plus 9,000 power and plus 3 crit if you have 3 other Omnis on your field, and that's really good. Surely he can be rested, but a lot of the time being able to recall him is annoying to your opponent, and he can be a pretty big threat on the board, so 1 and 1. So, moving on to count-ons. I wasn't too sure about this count-on at first, but after testing it, I was pretty much sold. So, this guy, it basically allows you to come back to your hand at the beginning of your main phase. You pay 1 gauge to reuse it for, let's say, Joker's effect, because he's discarding Omni Lord, and for the other Makuro, because he's discarding Omni Lords as well. So yeah, that's pretty much all he's there in the deck for, and of course he's an Omni Lord, so you can put him into drop or into hand off the Resonance spell, which we'll look at later. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this card, and this countdown I really don't need to talk about, but it's just so good. 1 life, call from drop, beginning of each player's attack phase, and yeah, he basically just protects. It's an automatic ability, so it can help against destruction cards like that Lost World monster, because it is automatic, and it's just a really great card in the deck. A lot of text for other stuff like Blood Sex and stuff like that. Okay, moving on to Burn Novas. We have got the Manliness Burn Nova right here. This one's a 2 gauge to call. My problem with this card is that while it does have triple attack, and yes, you can call it normally if you want to get that extra aggression, even though it doesn't have Soul Guard, his main effect for calling during opponent's turn doesn't reduce his size, so he conflicts if you already have this card on your field, which is very annoying. But he's still a really great card nonetheless, and you know, there aren't really too many better Omnis to run, so he just does the work and he does a good job. So yeah, extra gain 3 life, and you know, being able to call. He doesn't redirect, but still AK defense, triple attack, solid cards. So we're running him. We've got 1 copy of the triple attack Burn Nova. I believe this is from New World Chaos. So we've got Full Blast Omni Lord Burn Nova right here, 928 size 3. So call cost, put the top card deck in this card's soul and pay 3 gauge. When your opponent's card attacks, you can change the target, so redirection, which is sometimes really good, especially when you can counter call at the start of attack phase and in response to attacks. And he's got triple attack, Soul Guard, Lifelink 3. The Lifelink 3 hurts a bit, and same with the gauge cost, but it's still a really great card and can throw off your opponent. Plus, you can use a card like we'll look at, Omni Lord Drum SD, which we'll have a look at later, who can stack soul into him, and that can be really funny and annoying to your opponent. We've got the new Burn Nova. This is basically a better version of the previous Burn Nova that we had, but except you don't need to be you don't need to go down to 1 life in order to call him. And also you can still call him using Miseria's effect if you still pay the call cost, which is discard your entire hand and pay 3 gauge. He's got 12,000 power, 3 crit, and you know, the classic Burn Nova stuff. Also, he has the built-in cannot be rest and ability can't be nullified. You know, when he enters the field, you can't take damage, he can't be destroyed, but he can easily be bounced and popped. Sorry, not popped, dropped by Vanity and that kind of stuff, which is annoying. But still a really great card, and is definitely a nice comeback card, especially if your opponent does not expect it. So, really great. Here are some other cards I'm not too sure about, but still after testing, we do have Dog Demon Lord Osmodite. Now, in case you didn't see it at the beginning, we do play one of the Searcher, or why am I saying we? I do play one of the Searcher in this deck. So, basically you can search him out if you have extra Demon Lords and Soul to stack. But Dog Demon Lord is good just because the stats, and sometimes you can bring him out. I honestly find myself not using him much in the deck, but he's still just great because he's because you need to play enough Omnis in the deck, and he has a role to fulfill. Maybe in the future it'll be filled by some other Omni Lord, his niche or whatever, but he's still a great card in the deck. 15,000 auto null to meme against Max Dragons, but the effect of being popped, you get to check top 5, and you can spam that multiple times a day. Want to destroy through your center, because you can throw Demon Lord Armor to his soul and give him Soul Guard. Okay, so we've got Grangadez right here. This card I understand is a meme, but again, you need Omni Lords to fill up your deck, and he's honestly not that bad. That 4,000 power sorry, 12,000 power. I was thinking of the 4 crit. And the lifelink 4 is a bit annoying. I'll say that. But getting cards into solo is sometimes be really helpful. He can be a backup to call in case you don't get this Miseria into hand if that scenario does occur. But he's still just a really great card and, you know, put some more aggression on your opponent. And also if Miseria gets popped, like let's say he's on your right here and he's got, let's say, I don't know, 4 soul right now. Let's just throw that in there. And let's say by card effects, you already have him on the right. Miseria gets destroyed by card effects, and now it's battle phase. Sorry, attack phase. What am I saying? This isn't Yu-Gi-Oh! Move, and you get in the center, and you've already got that 4 soul, and you've got that extra defense just in case. So he's honestly not that bad of a card. I test him for yourself and try him out. But yeah, we're going with 1 copy of him in the deck. Okay, now moving on to some interesting cards. We've got Drum. You probably don't know what most of these cards are, at least these ones. These ones are from Solar Strife and Radiant. But anyways, let's talk about this card. So we've got 5th Omni Lord, Drum, SC. Honestly, one of my favorite cards from this deck. Like, first off, the artwork is awesome. I remember seeing this during Buddy Legends. But the effect is also really great. So first off, he has no call cost, which is awesome. He's got decent stats with the 2 crit, but he's got that counteract, which is really great. Top card decking the soul of a monster in your field, and you take 1 damage. This is honestly one of my favorite effects in the deck, because you can just keep stacking soul, and because he's free to call, you're not using up any gauge, and because it is a counter, you can use during both turns. So essentially, if you get him out on your first turn and during your opponent's turn, use the effect because it's a counter, you can actually get 5 souls straight into Miseria, 3 from the call cost, 2 from his effect, and if your opponent isn't careful and they don't deal with this card, you can just keep stacking soul to cards, and it's really fun and annoying to them. Okay, we've got this drum right here. So this is the one from Solar Strife. What's it called? Super Mugen, oh my gosh, I have to say this whole name. 5th Omni Super Dragon Sky Emperor Mugen Drum. So 726, size 2. Omni Lord can't be called to center. Same for basically all the drums, but it doesn't really matter most of the time because Miseria is going to be on your center. And put top card deck in this card, soul, pay 2 gauge. When you take damage, destroy monster bones field, and you gain a life with double attack soul guard. This is really annoying, especially with Lost World monsters, because a lot of Lost World monsters don't have built-in immunity except for maybe Vanity. You basically just gain a life and just wipe something on your opponent's field whenever you take damage. Again, it has to be a monster, but yeah, it's just whenever take damage, would either be lifelink, for example, you pair that up with Burn Nova, because lifelink is actually you take damage in the wording, in case you did not know that. So it's definitely an interesting card in the deck, and I'm really enjoying playing it. And of course, we're playing this meme card. I don't know why, I just really like this card. First off, the artwork is awesome, but anyways, let's go through the effect and the actual reason why I play him. Anyways, he's got 10,000 power, 3,000, 5,000 defense only, which kind of sucks, but he's size 2, and with double attack soul guard. 5th Omni Super Dragon Great Emperor Kaiser Drum. So we got the Kaiser Drum in here. So call cost, put this card on top monster with drum on your field and pay 2 gauge. And when you're dealt damage, choose a card in opponent's field and put an Omni Lore for Angelus in the bottom of the deck. If you do, destroy the chosen card. So again, you're going to have a lot of extra Omnis in your drop. And basically, whenever you're taking damage, whether it be by Drum's effect, lifelink, or by card effects, you basically just get to return Omni and just get a free pop on your opponent's field. Basically, these 2 cards are the only ones that can actually pop cards in your opponent's field by card effects. So this card is just going to do work for you. Plus, it's also a steadfast bond. So if your opponent isn't careful or they don't pay attention to him being in drop, let me grab the scenario. So let's say you've got these 3 cards on board. You pay 1 life, keep secretly stacking soul into drum, and they're not paying attention. They keep trying to take out Miseria. Bam! You counter call him, and just like that, he's got extra soul for steadfast bond. And if they try to deal damage to you, you can just return your Omnis back to the deck and get some free pops. So, or destruction, whatever you want to call it. Pop is just a different key term for destruction. Ugh. Anyway, so yeah, he's a really fun card to play, and Steadfast Bond, for those who don't know, is basically whenever your life becomes 0, it becomes 1, so you can keep reusing effects that would deal you damage, or if you're about to lose the game. And this actually has clutch gains for me before, and it's just a really fun card to play in the deck. So, it is a bit hard to find, because I believe it's from the secret pack of, what was it? I forgot what the name of the set was. The Evolution Mutation. So that one, X alternative set, and not the easiest to find. Same with the Wicked Omni Lord, the card on screen I'll put right now. Wanted to find him, I could not find him. I'm still going to ask people around for it, and if I ever decide to update this deck or we get more Omnis, then I'll talk about that. But I'm still looking for that card, and so yeah, really fun card to play. So we're playing those 3 drums. Moving on to Tembu. I'm going to talk about some other Tembus that I have on the side here as well, but these are the ones I'm playing in the main deck for now. First up, we have Elder Tembu. Nullifying abilities is really helpful, and it is solid for that reason alone. So 6/3/6, 2 gauge when the card enters the field, nullify all abilities of the card in your opponent's field, and destroy it. Sorry, nullify all abilities of a monster, not a card. So again, it can only target monsters, which is not a big weakness, but a kind of a minus, but it's still really great against certain decks, especially those that don't necessarily have both of the immunities out at the same time, or both of the cards that give immunity at the same time. It's really great. Again, a lot of decks do, and a lot of ace decks just have anti-destruction, which is a pretty big weakness for this deck, but there's not much you can really do. It's still really helpful sometimes. So we've got one, and it's the secret copy. We also have the other Tembu, which is 5th Omni Super Dragon Lord Fierce Deity Tembu. So 7/3/7. Basically, put a monster from field in this card's soul and pay 2 gauge. And if you already have either, here he is, Joker or El Quixote already on board, then when you counter call them from drop, you just use them for the call cost and throw them into soul. And basically, whenever it enters the field or you take damage, it's once per turn though, you just get to nuke your opponent's field. Like every single monster, just pop them all. And that is sometimes very helpful, especially against certain decks. But again, a lot of stuff has immunity, but it's still a really fun card. And the 7/3, that's 6 critical in total, so it's some good offensive push. Okay, last Omni Lord card. Omni Lord Infinity Burst. Now, I get this is more of a meme card, more of a sideboard, but I just find it really helpful in certain situations. Like, for example, your opponent goes in the Lost World, they can't finish you off, you need to just wipe their board. Well, bam, this does the solution. This is your solution to your problems. 100 Demons. What else is there? I'm trying to think. Link Dragon Order has immunity. But basically, whenever you want to wipe monsters, you basically get to cast it, pop a monster, then if you return Omni Lord from your drop zone to your deck, you just get to add it back to your hand and just cast it again and just reuse it over and over again against certain decks. Again, especially against wall decks, this card is extremely helpful. So I main deck 1, especially because you can grab it off this spell, but it's still not the greatest card in the world, especially with things having immunity. But it's so much fun to use, and especially Shadow Shades as well. If they don't have Infector, bam, say goodbye to Silhouette Joe. So yeah, that's a really fun card. Here you go, 1 copy. Okay, moving on. I'm going to explain why I play 3 and not 4, just because you want to have a good ratio of Omnis in the deck. And with the small deck size of 50, it's honestly frequent enough that it just works. So we've got 3 Omni Lord's Resonance right here. So this spell is pretty simple. Use it on all flags. You get to check top 5, put up to 2 Omni Lords from them into your hand, and choose up to 3 and put them into drop, and the rest go to the bottom of the deck. So it does set up cards in drop zone if you want to get some cards into drop zone for this Roy Miseria's cost again. This one. And it basically allows you to get more cards into hand, is pretty much your only plus card. Unfortunately, Omni still don't have any card that give you any extra pluses based on cards in drop, like the Thunder Red Awakening card for Thunder Empire. But it's still a really great card just to go plus, and of course digs through your deck and goes through it to get you the resource and Omni Lords and pieces that you need. So, we're playing 3 Unfreezing. 3 Unfreezing is basically good enough for the deck. I was thinking about playing less. 4 is definitely too much. Or like 3 is just a good amount. You really don't need more or less. You can test it out for yourself. It is 1 life, but you get checked off 3, 1 into hand, rest to bottom. So again, it's not like Darrowburg where you're putting cards into drop, which sucks because that'd be a huge help for Miseria. But being able to dig through your deck is really good, and 1 life is pretty much nothing in the deck. So there you go, 3 copies. We're playing 3 of Bonus Quest. So Bonus Quest is a really great card because again, you're digging. Basically all of the, except for like maybe 5, Omni Lords are all size 2 or greater, so the call cost is really easy to fulfill. And you basically get to discard it, gauge 2, gain a life, draw 2. You're going basically plus, and you need more resource, gauge, and hand cards, and it's just so great at that. You honestly don't need 2, you honestly don't need 4. I feel like it's too much, and you can break. But if you got 4 and you feel like you're just not getting it into hand, then go ahead, test out 4, see how that goes for you, but 3 works perfectly fine for me. Okay, moving on, we got 1 of the Demon Lord Searcher. Now you're probably asking, why didn't you focus your deck around Demon Lords? Why aren't you playing more of this? Honestly, 1 isn't enough. I just wanted to boost up the consistency, and 1 works fine. Also, Joker is also a Demon Lord, or at least in the attribute, so you can search him as well if you need to. And any of the Miserias, pretty much, if you want to set up any combos with something like, let's say this, and want to search this Miseria, so then you can have this Miseria on board, pretty much. So let's say you have this Miseria on board, you cast this, search this, and then pop this Miseria, and boom, instantly call this out and finish off your opponent. So that's just the example I'm using. Anyways, getting off track, pure Omnis are kind of just better. Demon Lord the Demon Lord Hybrid is fun. I think I've seen some deck lists, and I think I did test it out. I'm just kind of just blanking right here. But it's still definitely a lot of fun to play, and the deck does wonders. The Searcher does wonders, and again, you can also... Okay, sorry guys, the camera cut off again. Anyways, as I was saying, this card can search off Smodai and really just boost up consistency because you always want to get Mozeria. Did I say Mozeria? Mozeria in hand. This card. You always want this card because it's pretty much what your deck is built around. So 1 copy of the Searcher. You can try out 2, whatever works for you, but I find 1 is fine. Delusion's running amok. Again, this is our combo piece. Unfortunately, you can only cast it during the attack phase, but you get to pop a monster, gauge 4, use it for combos, maybe pop a monster in your center so you can get around Penetrate, whatever works for you. So, yep, we're playing 2. 1 copy of Obstruct. Unfortunately, Obstruct has been banned, but it is still a really great card in this deck because basically none of your cards in this deck are making you draw or allow you to draw except for bonus quests. And again, this card was just so prominent and still is for shutting down meta decks and stopping draw power. And it pretty much doesn't affect you, so there's no reason not to play 1 in the deck, or at least until it's banned. So 1 copy. We've got 3 copies of Demon Lord Armor because you need defense. And while you might not always see it in Drop Zone, I find it sometimes I get it in hand. But El Quixote mills cards from your deck, again, because you get to check top 3 rest go into drop. So if you do get this in the hand, or maybe later on, it's just so good because, again, it's built in basically anti-null ability for Mozeria. And of course that debuff is really great as well. Unfortunately, it can be removed by soul removal effect, but it's still such a great card in the deck, so we're playing 3. Okay, now on to the final defense cards. We've got 2 of Ice Emperor's Judgment and 2 Insanity Chevrays, however you say that. So, Insanity Chevrays is actually a Folktale spell, and you basically only cast it if you have 2 more monsters in your field, which is pretty easy with Mozeria's Counter Call effect. You basically get to nullify an attack, and choose an attacking card for this turn the chosen card cannot stand. So basically shutting down multi-attackers would either be Garga, even though Garga has Giavo for days, Max Dragons, basically any multi-attackers, and this is just so good for shutting them down, so 2 copies. You've also got Ice Emperor's Judgment. This card I feel like a lot of decks weren't playing, and I can understand why, but to me it just works really well, and 2 copies is a good amount. You can play 1, 3, test it out for yourself, see how it goes, but 2 works fine for me. You basically get to pay 2 gauge if you have a Demon Lord on field, which you're basically always going to have, because, you know, Roy is a Demon Lord, and you basically pay 2 gauge to either destroy up to 2 cards in your opponent's field, or rest up to 2 cards in your opponent's field, which is just really good. Again, a lot of decks do have anti-rest, so it does suck if that happens, and there's not much you can really do, but it's still such a really good card, and again, having that counter timing to just pop 2 cards in your opponent's field is really useful, especially against certain decks like, I don't know, maybe the Godpunk set spell, and certain stuff that doesn't necessarily have built-in immunity to every single card out there. So, yep, that is pretty much the Omni Lord deck profile. If you guys have any questions, anything you want to ask about certain ratios, any suggestions, then feel free to. I definitely want to get out more uploads for Buddyfight, especially with Ace coming around. Maybe some more discussion, maybe some more parodies. It's just a matter of time, really. But if you guys have any questions, any suggestions for deck profiles, I would definitely be doing an update for the Draw Metal deck profile when that happens. Probably gonna be around maybe April, because Springfest is in April for me, and Climax set comes out in March. So I'm gonna see how that goes. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed the deck profile, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and whatever. And hopefully you guys enjoyed Omni Lords. Tell me what you think of the deck. Do you enjoy it? Have you tried it out? Do you know a friend? And honestly, ask around. If you're not sure about a deck, or if you're not sure how you want to build it, if you want to buy it, invest into it, you definitely want to do those kind of things before you're getting yourself a deck. So, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys later in the next Buddyfight video. Have a great day.